Senator Patterson.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Home Affairs, Senator Watt. The Australian reported yesterday that a Colombian man who was convicted of sexually offending against a teenager has been allowed to remain in Australia under the Albanese Labor government's Direction 110. Minister, will the government immediately intervene to reverse the AAT's decision and cancel the offender's visa?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Wong.
Thanks,
sorry. Sorry, yes, Senator Watt, sorry.
Thanks, President, and thanks, Senator Patterson, for the question. I have no intention of announcing a minister's decision, especially when it's a different minister, not myself, about a particular immigration matter in the middle of question time. It would be highly inappropriate to do so, and that's clearly a decision to be made by Minister Burke. I'm not aware of whether he's made that decision yet, but of course he'll evaluate that. But it's an opportune time to remind the chamber of the absolutely disgraceful record of Mr Dutton as the Home Affairs Minister on these matters. Now, I know you don't want to hear it. I know you don't want to hear it. I know you don't want to hear it. But the problem when you raise this, and he definitely doesn't want to hear it. He definitely doesn't want to hear it.
Minister Watt. I'll just wait for silence. Senator Patterson.
Point of order on direct relevance, President. The minister helpfully signposted that he had no intention of answering the substantive question and has now moved on to unrelated matters. I ask you to draw him back to the question or sit him down.
Thank Minister Watt.
I think it's been, on the point of order, it's been the practice in this place for ministers to be clear about what their response is to the substantive and then to be permitted to make broader comments in relation to the subject matter. That still has been considered by presidents to be directly relevant.
Thank you. The minister is being relevant, but I will direct him to confining his remarks to government matters. Minister Watt, please continue.
Thank you, President. And what I can say is that the Minister Burke, has been very clear that he will use his powers to remove people from this country who shouldn't be here. We've also been clear that there have been issues with the AAT process that we have been addressing, but the bottom line is that anyone who is being considered by the AAT has already had their visa cancelled by the Department of Home Affairs. Now, that stands in great contrast to the behaviour we saw from Mr Dutton as the Home Affairs Minister. In May,
Minister Watt, please resume your seat. Senator Patterson.
I
have a senator on his feet. Senator Ayres. I expect there to be silence. Senator Patterson.
On your ruling from just a moment ago, President, the minister is now openly defying your direction to confine his comments to government policy.
The minister is being relevant to the question that you asked, and I will expect him to remain substantially on government policy, which is exactly what he was doing. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, President. I think we all know that Mr Senator Patterson's chief job in the opposition is to protect the honour of Mr Dutton, and he's doing a very good job of doing that today. But unfortunately for Senator Patterson, the truth is that while the Leader of the Opposition was the Home Affairs Minister, 2 men convicted of being accessories to murder were released on his watch. 102 convicted sex offenders, among them 64 child sex offenders, were released on Mr Dutton's watch. How come you never talk about that? How come you never talk about the fact that when Mr Dutton—
Minister Watt, I do remind you to confine your remarks to the government policy.
Well, the government's policy is significantly different to what we saw from Mr Dutton, who, while he was the Home Affairs Minister, released a man who was born in the UK in 1947, was convicted in 2016 of being an accessory to the stabbing of an associate in a cannabis operation. You never want to talk about that, do you?
Minister Birmingham. Senator Birmingham, sorry.
President, just on a point of order there, you were very clear in your instructions to the minister, who then wilfully disregarded your instructions and ignored them completely. Now, the time has all but expired but a second, President, but I would urge you to caution the minister and to ensure that, in the remaining question, he is actually relevant to the question and adheres to the rulings that you are making.
I believe that the minister was being relevant to the the request that I gave him, he was using government policy and contrasting it with other policies. I'm not sure, Minister Watt, what you might say in 1 minute, but you can give it a shot if you're so inclined, or I will move to the Senator Patterson, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. The report also notes that another convicted child sex offender and a man who was part of a large-scale drug operation had their visas reinstated under Direction 110, which puts ties to the community as a primary consideration in visa decisions. Minister, how many serious criminals have had their visas reinstated on Labor's watch under Direction 110?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President. Thanks, Senator Patterson. Well, as I've already said, the minister has made clear that he will use his powers to remove people from the country who shouldn't be here. And again, anyone who's being considered by the AAT has already had their visa cancelled by the department. But I can tell you someone who knows a bit about releasing sex offenders from immigration detention, and his name is Peter Dutton.
What? Order. Senator Cash. Senator Cash, order. And Senator Ayres, order. Order. Senator Patterson.
President, you might be able to anticipate my point of order on direct relevance. This is a factual question. How many? The minister hasn't even entertained going to the substance of the question. He could take it on notice.
That's right.
Senator Patterson, I am reminded that the minister is not required to answer the question in the terms that you have indicated. I believe the minister is answering the question, and I will continue to listen carefully, and I'll draw him back to it if he strays from that. Thank you. And Senator McKenzie, please, no more interjections. Seriously, and Senator Cash and Senator Ayres. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President. So, as I say, that's the position of this government. Let's remember that when Mr Dutton was the Home Affairs Minister, he released a man born in the UK in 1945, was convicted in 1986 of being an accessory to murder when a drug associate shot another man in what was described as a gangland execution. He released a man who was born in the UK
Minister
in 1947.
I will draw you back to Senator Patterson's question.
Well, point of order, President. May I request?
Order. Order on my left. Order. Senator Watt.
May I request your consideration of your earlier point that it was legitimate to contrast the opposition's record with the government's record. That's what I'm seeking to do.
Minister Watt, I did indeed say it was fine to contrast, but I've yet to hear the contrast.
Immigration law to ensure that the AAT has very clear directions about who can release. The contrast is Mr Dutton, who released a man who was accessory to the stabbing of an associate in a cannabis operation, who helped another man carry the victim's body to the boot of a car and dump it in a makeshift grave. That's your leader.
Order. Order. I did call for order. Senator Patterson, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Will the Minister for Home Affairs and Immigration immediately restore the stronger policies under the former coalition government which put ties to the community as a secondary rather than primary consideration for visa decisions?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Watt.
Yep. I'm surprised Senator Patterson wants to bring back the policies of the former Leader of the Opposition, like releasing people with no electronic monitoring, curfews or other conditions, no joint ABF or AFP operations. We're not going to take lessons from someone who releases hundreds of sex offenders. We're not going to take lessons.